Welcome to the second episode of the Tornoes, our podcast about startups, life, kids, moving from Europe to the US as entrepreneurs, running a tech startup as a family, and all the learnings, laughters, cries, and everything we experienced in between.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Casper, it was a lot of fun to record last week and share our learnings with folks. Today we have a celebration. We promised the
Yes,
kids we were gonna celebrate. How
yes.
did the morning start?
It started with us winning the biggest customer that we have won to date, which is awesome.
Yay!
It's small, but it's big for us. We keep inching and keep getting bigger and bigger, and that's amazing. Yeah,
Very nice. I remember you called me in the car while on the way to school, and you said we have that new customer closing, and I was shouting in the car, and the kids started shouting excitedly, and at some moment they were like, "Wait, mom, what does the customer mean?"
this is
And
when
I
they're like, you have to learn to explain things to a 5-year-old because it's literally what you do. It's like if you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, well, what are you doing? So please explain what a customer is.
Then I told them that when we go in the shop, we are customers. We
Yeah.
buy the things we everything, all the delicious food that we get or the toys we get. And then when somebody buys from mom and dad, they're our customer and we give them really good service and they're happy
Mm.
for it the way our kids are happy for the toys. And then they were like, oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Well, mom, if you start selling the Xbox, then you're gonna make more money, wouldn't you?
It was really sweet. He offered to sell and put his money as well. It's like I can help out. It's like I want part of this genuine excitement energy. It's like I want more of that. Let's sell the Xbox.
He was so sweet. The real
Right.
believer, the real angel. And so I thought today it's gonna be a really good idea to talk about the initial support, like how did we get to that moment of time, the initial support we have received from friends and family, and what has it meant for us.
Yes. It's meant a lot. I think that just to put things in perspective, like the customer we want today is for $500 a month. So it's still in the small end, but compared to the first one where it was $50 a month, it feels like it's a big upgrade. So then we got one for 100, then we're 250, and now we're like, it's such a big win. And the rush of winning these customers, I mean, you get high on that. The sales dopamine. Yeah, we wanted to talk about early believers, whether they're your friends or random people you find on the internet, that somehow chooses to believe not in your product, because let's say that's not the thing that people come into, but your vision and where you're going and you. Like if we set the topic of like paying it forward, bet on your friends, bet on random people, even if it's a small bet for you, it can be a huge difference for someone else.
This is where it really nicely bridges with the conversation I had with our co-founder Stefan a week ago when we were discussing finance, and he's a really big budget guy. He keeps budgets. He takes he takes pictures of the receipts for the day and manages the whole workflow. And he's very diligent in that sense.
He's definitely has
Uh,
the setup, yeah.
yeah, and we were discussing a situation where a common friend of ours, who is an awesome supporter of us, and we've loved her content and everything, called Dora, is writing a Substack, and she had the subscription. And Stefan said the goal of that expense is not to optimize my expenses and budget for the month. The goal of that expense is to support my friend, to leverage their learnings, to show my belief, just like people has believed in us. And it reminded us for the first client that we got. Let's actually go back in time. We did not have a product. I was working full time as a product manager in a software company, and you and Stefan were building a product. I was that person in the company that was getting asked so many questions by everybody. I felt that there is a genuine need in the company to optimize knowledge sharing, because as a product manager, I was writing articles in Confluence that nobody was reading. I was sharing updates in in Slack that very few people were reading. But then when I was hosting this Q&A session, I was discovering so many knowledge gaps between the customer support teams, the customer facing teams, and the product teams, that it was fascinating for me. How can we bridge these gaps? How can we optimize the knowledge sharing experience? So when you and Stefan were building product in that direction, I was like, wow, it will be incredible, because I walking question base in that organization. uh, why why wouldn't I be able to channel some of these learnings from my job towards you guys so you can improve
Mm.
on the product? And I went on and I asked my boss if we can please test the solution. And by then it wasn't even a Slack bot, it was
Collaborative, a collaborative meeting where you could like host a Q&A, kind of like an collaborative AMA, where you could
yeah,
run a like session in a meeting and ask questions.
me and a colleague of mine were really excited about the knowledge sharing in the organization. We were doing this every single day for the team. And I validated the need for optimizing that process again and again. So I was 100% sure that this idea is going to get approved because it's something that's going to benefit the organization.
So did it get approved, Jana, when you asked?
No,
Oh.
because I was met with a very skeptical attitude. I did a demo and but does it have A, B, C, D? And it was like 10 insane requirements towards the product that even at the current stage where we are much more mature company will not necessarily cover. And it was just prohibiting barriers for us to implement that software. The
And it
whole
was a
frame of mind.
it was a 30-person company. It wasn't
Yeah,
like you were not in a huge company. So it's not like there would need to be. It's something that's pretty easy to just test out, right? Like you were,
absolutely. If
yeah.
there was willingness. And yeah, a week later, I quit the job and went full in on question based instead. And
Woo! So thank you. You might still have been addicted to a paycheck. I mean, it's the worst addiction you can ever get.
yeah, true. But it was hard. I think that people don't realize that on the other side they're optimizing something for themselves, like how much value will it give them, how much does it mean to them. Whereas when you're so early on in the idea, it really is about, are you willing to do a gesture?
Right. Woo! $50 a month. Woo! Bam! Woo! Only spent like 30 hours hunting them down, trying to call their mom and get them on the phone. But man, we just got $50. And that high from that little win is what it's all about. So do that little win, please. It's really help an entrepreneur in need, because that's what fuels to get to the next level and the next level and the next level. And it gets easier and easier.
So excited. And that's what a friend of ours did for us, because essentially we had to hunt all of our friends, literally go from the first connection on LinkedIn to the last and go and ask, hey, can you help us validating this idea? Are you willing to interact with our Slack bot and give us some feedback? This is before we launched any version out
Yeah.
there.
No.
And there was one company that
Yeah.
agreed. These friends of ours who said, yeah, sure, let's try it out. And they tried it, and we had a few sessions. And honestly, at this moment, we were helping them more like consultants than actually adding value through our software.
Gosh, that
And it
is a
was
good
like,
point. That is a good point. When an entrepreneur comes and asks you for $50 to try their product, and you're like, no, listen here, here's an advice. You want cheap consultants? Buy an entrepreneur's product, because they are going to be spending 10, 20 hours on your specific use case while you pay $50 a month for a license to that product. Just buy software licenses and then get them to consult for free. Yeah.
perfect. This is what happens for real. Like there was another company that were came through an introduction from an investor. So we'll spend all these hours. I'll go to their office. We're gonna help them set up all kinds of processes, run through how are they running different meetings, and I don't know what, like tens of hours of work. And the people who had to approve testing the software never got around to do it. And it's such a bummer because people really don't understand what it means
Right.
on the other side. Like they're thinking, what can I get out of it?
Which they should. I feel like you should think, what can you get out of it? I give a little bit of slack. Even if you can get just a little bit out of it, then get that little bit out of it.
There is an aspect to pay it forward.
Yes.
Because if we look at the trajectory of our friends buying the first year of their license, the value that we added to them was very minimal through product, right?
Mm.
Today we can talk about that they have a sweet deal, they have lifetime price that is really, really sweet, and the value that we add to them on a daily basis is, if not more, hopefully it's more, but it's equal to what they're paying. The fact that there was zero pushback. We called them, can you test it?
Yeah.
Yes. 6 months later, we called them, well, now we need to start proving our business model. Can you pay? Yes. For a long time, it was our only yes.
Yeah.
And it
And
meant so much because it kept us going, because we kept saying to ourselves, if there is one, there would be 10. And now, today, when we have 10, we know there would be 100.
yeah. It's really funny because a lot of times I feel like they don't realize that's what most people can get so discouraged about, because you look at your competitors' websites and, oh my God, they have all these logos, they raise all this money. That's like, it's a brutally hard work to get a B2B SaaS product off the ground. It's hard. I don't think they realized they were only customers, because obviously we're pretending like,
Yeah,
yeah,
for
it's
the
good,
first
we got
year,
all
there were
this.
like just three companies.
I feel like for the first year, you're like, how many customers do you have? Oh, 100, because you got a bunch of signups or whatever. It's like you count all them in, and then the more you grow, the more you get closer to the real number. So it's like, because you don't want to say 3, because that's obviously bad, or 1. Yeah.
Yeah. I really want to celebrate these small actions, these gestures. And I was recently talking to a friend of ours who used to run number of brick and mortar shops in Europe. They used to have like a coffee house, restaurant, businesses like that.
Mm.
And when they came to the US, they were thinking about setting up a similar type of business here as well. And they said, we can already now predict that it's gonna work. I'm like, well, but there are so many businesses, like every corner is filled up with businesses. And they said, well, the best thing about this place is that people would always give you a chance. If you started business in Europe, and let's say it's a bakery, and you put it around the corner of a building, people will be like, oh, there's this new bakery around the corner, and we already have a bakery. I've been buying from that bakery for 10 years. I really like my latte there. And it's really hard to break through that noise and get to the level where people would give you a chance. Whereas here, by default, you open something new, some business, people would give you a chance. People would be like, oh, there is this new thing, let's go and check it out. And then it's up
New,
to you.
new thing. It sounds dangerous and scary. Let's not go down that path.
And I feel with software it's the same. Like people would give you a chance, and I really wanna emphasize how much it has meant for us. These few friends that has given us a chance in the early days when no one else believed in us. Because by a friend giving you a chance, you start building up the feeling of, well, it's not that scary. I'm gonna go now to this stranger and ask
Yeah.
them.
I think that we talked a little bit in the previous episode as well about how, like in the US, whether they actually mean it or not doesn't matter, but that positive reaction is what fuels you to keep going and keep doing it. And I think it's the same thing we are talking about here. That little gesture of like someone paying you $50 a month and get you to keep going, keep building, keep improving. And it's like small steps, but it's just that's what feeds an entrepreneur to go and solve a bigger problem.
So you can then start selling to strangers for 500, right? It
Yeah.
really helps. That friend of ours, another friend of ours who really gave it his support was our previous colleague Mitko.
Mm.
who is running this agency,
Rico.
and he tried the product in the earliest version. He was constantly seeking for ways how
Oh,
it can work.
yeah. We did
Although
not do a good job
actually
there,
in the
version
beginning
one.
it was not tailored to his use case at all.
No.
I remember having a terrible demo with his
Yeah.
team where
Me
he
too.
was really hyped.
Yeah. Oh, I love Mitko.
He was
Yeah.
really hyped about it, but his teammates were not getting what is this and why they have to use it. But he kept believing. And then a few months later, when truly we had an offering for their team and he had to subscribe, and we wanted to extend a generous promo code for his team, he said, no, don't do that. I would happily pay the full price. And we had tears in our eyes because he's gonna try to show his support continuously, no matter what.
These small wins means so much. It's just because as an entrepreneur, no is your default. You wake up to a no, you eat some no for lunch, you go to dinner, you get a no. So every single yes you can give to someone, even if it's a small one, it's a big thing. So thank you, Mitko.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you to everybody that has supported us in one way or another. Not always people can support you with using your product. They don't necessarily have the use case, they don't have the problem, but they can support you with feedback. We've had, oh my God, how many of our friends have supported us during the product hunt launches that we have done
Oh
over
yeah.
multiple times, where people would extend the attention of their LinkedIn audience to share a comment, share a post in some way,
Leave a
uh,
review for our product even
leave
though
a
they've never
review.
tried it. I love
Yeah,
it.
we had a bunch of these, and we always feel like super bad. And we're like,
Yeah.
it's not authentic. We
Yeah.
really like the authentic ones, but people were super, super sweet. And
You got to
this
start
support,
somewhere.
it always makes you, because this is how you're gonna reach to the customer. You're gonna reach to the customer because somebody that you trust and they trust you shared a good word about you.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, I love the story with Mitko. You were trying to be like, hey, can we improve something? Can we make it better? And he's like, stop worrying. I'm not going to unsubscribe from this. I will keep paying you until eternity. This is
Because we
just an
are
incredible support. It's like,
incredible,
uh,
because we are at the stage where we have customers paying, we drive them to success, we have their use cases, so we want to go back to these early supporters and get them to the right level of success. So I was very mindful about it. I was like, hey, we can do so much for you. The last 10 updates and releases of new features would be so valuable for you. And he was so sweet, like, don't worry, I'll always be supporting you. And this is also something that is in the DNA of Techstars.
right. Paid forward.
So to end the episode, I really want to emphasize the importance of backing each other up, extending these gestures to each other when we have ideas, make sure that we have positive attitude, that we are less calculative about the immediate value we receive, and we take in perspective what does it mean for the other person.
Which entrepreneur can I help today? Which entrepreneur can I go out and support, whether it's small or big, whether it's commenting on LinkedIn, purchasing a month of their software, trying it out. What can I do to help an entrepreneur to go and fuel them to do a better job?
Yeah, that's a good friend. I'm sure you can find one or two on LinkedIn, or they'll reach out. Let's talk about paid forward and Techstars.
In the next episode, we're going to be talking about Techstars.